That's not an invitation to not come to class, but it's just for your convenience. I also use it for the online class as well to help them. But you know, if there's something we went over and you're not quite sure, you're like, oh, what did she say? Gives you the opportunity to go back and take a look at it. But like I said, I do, there are points for attendance. So do expect you to be here if you can. So wait, this year is, there's a lot of change going on at DMAC. And I'm sure that some of you have used Canvas before. How many have used Canvas before? Okay, so these, and you're all probably, either you come from a different institution or you're fresh out of high school and have used this before. This is brand new to us here. We've been using Blackboard, which is kind of like, yeah, Blackboard was antiquated. We needed this change, but bear with us as we go through it. Spent a lot of time getting everything transferred over. I am sure there are going to be mistakes in the transfer process and errors here and there. So just, and if you see something that doesn't make sense, like, hey, on the syllabus it says this, but over here in this other place it says this, let me know, okay? Because it could just be, you know, most likely I've missed updating something. Hi.
Hello.
What's your name?
Adeze.
Adeze, okay. Let me have a seat. Adeze. So do let me know if you see something that's inconsistent anywhere, and I'll get that fixed, because so far it's only gone through one set of eyes, my set of eyes. And if you have any experience in accounting or just curious in the accounting world, it is always good to have things go through at least 2 sets of eyes, ideally 3 sets of eyes, because you know, attention to detail is really, really important. And so just keep that in mind as you're going through the class. So the first thing that you'll see once you get logged in is the syllabus. Tells you, well, you're all here, so you're all here at the right time and in the right place, so we don't have to go through that. These are the course competencies. This is a 3-credit course. We go through, it's an introductory type payroll accounting course. We do go through some more advanced concepts toward the end of the semester, but we start out with an overview of the payroll accounting function. I assume you're all here because you're interested in accounting. Yes? Or somebody told you had to be here. So we do, hopefully you're here because you're interested in accounting. One of the nice things about DMAC is we're like the only institution that teaches payroll accounting. I mean, the other community colleges will teach payroll accounting, but you don't get this at Iowa State, you don't get this at Iowa, you don't get this at UNI. This type of course is really, it's very specialized. And so you're fortunate. When I was going through school, I didn't have payroll accounting. I had to learn this stuff on the job. But the payroll function is integral to any organization, and so it's really important, even if you're not really planning on working in payroll, but you're planning on working in accounting, or even in some other function within an organization, it's important to know how the payroll function works. So anyway, we go through our course competencies. I'm not going to read through all of these. You can take a look at them. These are things that the department agrees upon that we're going to cover in the class. There are a couple of, these were written several years ago, so there are a couple of laws in here that really don't apply anymore. As you may or may not know, the government likes to change laws and regulations. So there are maybe a couple of things there that we skip over, but for the most part, we're gonna cover all of that. So yeah, like I said, I'm not gonna read through everything here. These are so those are the class competencies. These here are the essential learning outcomes for the entire department that we are hoping to impart upon students, and hopefully they'll be able to do these things by the time they leave their studies here at DMAC. Again, I'm not going to go through all of that in detail. Study expectations, attend class. That's kind of a no-brainer. Read the class posting. So the announcements, I don't know if anybody's gone through this with you on Canvas, and those of you who are familiar with Canvas already probably know that you do need to sign up for notifications. So in order to receive those announcements and know that there is a new announcement without actually having to go onto Canvas, you got to go in and click on those notifications. So make sure you do that. There's a whole list of different notifications that you can sign up for. In fact, I'll go over here and kind of show you. It's just in your general account here under notifications, and there's like all of these things that you can sign up for. At a minimum, make sure you sign up for the announcements, okay? Because that's where I'm going to communicate for the most part with you. Like if class gets canceled for some reason, it will be posted as an announcement. And then if you sign up for that, you'll get an email. Or also you can sign up for push notifications, so you can get a notification on your phone of that as well. So make sure you go in there and do that. So, sorry. Still getting used to where everything is here. Okay, so that's the read the class posting. Stay on schedule. All of our work here builds upon itself. So if we get to chapter 4 where we talk about income tax withholding and how to calculate for income tax withholding. If you didn't understand the material in chapter 3 where we're calculating wages, taxable wages, you're going to fall behind. So it does build on itself. Make sure if you are getting off schedule or something's happened in your life that is making it impossible for you to get the work done in time, let me know. Just communicate with me, and we can work together on that. There are a lot of assignments in this class. I think the past students would tell you, oh my gosh, there's so many problems that you have to go through. I tell you that it gives you lots of practice. I tell you that so that you don't wait until the last minute to work on the homework for this class, because you will become overwhelmed really quickly if you do that. So make sure you're kind of working on it a little bit every day, and work that into your schedule. We do have lots of we've got lots of resources here to help students in their studies. You got me, of course, and you can always ask me questions. You can send me an email, send me a message. Actually, the best way is probably send me a message through Canvas. I get it as an email as well, but it's pretty easy to respond quickly if you do that. So you got me, I've got office hours. My office hours, in fact, are, I have in-person and virtual office hours. My in-person office hours are immediately before this class. So if you need some help and are able to come in a little bit early, I'm gonna park myself. This is not my home campus. My home campus is Urban Campus. So that's where my office is located. So I don't really have an office. I'm kind of a nomad here at Ankeny campus, but I noticed there's nobody using room 2 immediately before this class. So I'm gonna park myself in room 2, which is the room when you come in this door down here, there's a classroom before you get to the second set of double doors. That's room 2. So I'll park myself in there from 9:30 to 11 on Tuesdays and Thursdays in the morning. You can just come on in if you have any questions. You can also join virtually, and there is a link in here for my virtual office hours here somewhere. Oh, I guess it didn't actually link it, but it's there. You can copy and paste. So if you wanted to join virtually, you can't be here physically. You wanted to join virtually, you could do that as well. But it's pretty convenient that it's right before this class. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9:30 to 11. In addition, I have some online virtual only office hours as well. So Monday evenings, 5:15 to 6:45, and then Thursday evenings, 5:45 to 6:15. So that's a kind of a briefer period of time for that Thursday evening But if you need to talk to me, feel free to do that. If you can't make any of those times work, just shoot me a message and we'll find a time to chat outside of those, okay? Any questions so far? Okay. So my name is Kelly Murphy, Kelly Westfall Murphy, my full name. Kelly Murphy is fine. I am a CPA. I've been a CPA since 2004. I took the CPA exam in 2002 when I was living in Tucson, Arizona. So I was initially licensed in the state of Arizona. I am from Iowa. I grew up in Des Moines, graduated from Roosevelt many years ago, but moved away for a time and then ended up coming back. If you're planning on moving away from Iowa, because I know you guys are all kind of at that age where you're like, I want to get out of Iowa, just be aware, there's a good chance you might come back. So I did get my CPA license while I was living in Arizona. I have practiced mainly in the field of tax. I've always worked for small accounting firms, small CPA firms. And when I say small, the first CPA firm that I worked for, there were 2 of us there. I love working for the small firms. There's some advantages that you get, not necessarily financial advantages, but advantages with more flexibility, and you get to become a jack of all trades working for a small CPA firm as well. But so I worked in Tucson. I said mainly with small businesses, tax, did some QuickBooks work as well at that time. Moved back to Iowa. I lived in Clear Lake for several years, worked with a CPA firm up there, which was also, there were about 10 of us in the office, which seemed really big for me at the time. We did do some audits, and all I can say, there are several different areas of accounting that you can go into. Audit is one of them, tax is one of them, cost accounting is another one, nonprofit accounting, governmental. I mean, we've got all these different areas. Audit is a big one, and it's the area that the big accounting firms tend to focus on because there's a lot of money involved in audits. I worked on a couple of audits and decided that I'd rather poke a fork in my eye than work on another audit. So I went into tax instead. I think tax is a lot more fun. That's just me personally. You get to meet a lot more people. You get to interact with folks on a one-on-one basis a lot more in tax, and so that's why I decided that was not for me. I wanted to work in tax. Moved to Ames, which is where I live right now, and I worked for a small CPA firm in Ames for several years as well before joining DMAC. This is my 6th year of teaching at DMAC, and I love it. It's a fantastic transition. As you may or may not have heard, accountants tend to work very long hours. And I've got kids at home, and this transitioning into academia made home life a little bit more manageable. But all of that experience that I had, it was fantastic. So if any of you are interested in tax, income tax or payroll tax, I mean, it's all tax, I'd be happy to sit down with you and chat about the different opportunities in that particular field. I got a bachelor's degree from Central College, not in accounting. My bachelor's degree was in Latin American Studies and Spanish. I just wanted to get paid to travel when I was younger. My first job out of college was teaching English in Japan. Had nothing to do with Latin America either, but it allowed me to travel. So I kind of fell backwards into the accounting field. Really, I got a job in a bookkeeping office when my daughter was very young, and decided that I kind of liked it and that I was relatively good at it. So that's enough about me. Your assignments, and I'll show you. We'll kind of go and log into Cengage together, so I can show you how it's set up. Many of you have who's used Cengage before? Okay, so a few of you have used Cengage before. Most of you haven't. so you might not be as familiar with how Cengage is set up, but we'll go in there and take a look so you can see how the assignments are all set up. There is, built into the assignments, there is a penalty for late submissions. So, and here's the warning that I give you. And this is something that students have encountered in past semesters. If you start your assignment at 11 o'clock at night, and the due time is always 11:59 p.m., and you don't get it done until 12:01, it's going to count it as late. So manage your time, I guess is what I'm saying. Don't wait until the last minute to get to work on the assignments late at night. You do have plenty of time to work on these assignments. We have 6 chapters that we cover in the class, and I give you at a minimum, I think 2 weeks for each chapter to work on that stuff. So we talk about it in class, go over it, have the lectures, and then you've got a couple of weeks to work on that stuff as well. So you should have plenty of time to do that. So the assignments are docked 25% if they're late. There are, in each chapter, we have the Cengage calls them assessments. They're quizzes, tests. They as well they're going to be due at the same time as those assignments, but they have a 50% reduction in credit if they're late. Okay. With those assessments, you are allowed to use it's not like a proctored exam, and you do them on your own. So you're allowed to use your materials when you're doing those. Okay, but just keep in mind that time restriction. So discussion board postings in this class, I think I do. Don't have it listed on here. That may be from I'll have to double check on the discussion board postings. I can't remember if I included them this semester or not. If there are any, then there's no late discussion board postings. Weather-related cancellations. So it happens, it seems to be happening more and more frequently every year. We have weather-related. Now, not so much in the fall. Fall seems to be all right, but in the spring, that's when we get those polar vortices and everything shuts down. Like I said, I do live in Ames. I'm sure many of you are commuting as well. So it could also be that the weather's fine here, but something's happening up in Ames. I will notify you. I don't anticipate any times of not being able to make class, but I will notify you through those announcements if that is the case. There's a good possibility that instead of having class then in person, we will have it online. And I will give you instructions on how to access that if that's the case. Okay, so you'll have plenty of heads up on how that all works. And probably many of you are taking virtual classes or online classes or have done that. You're already familiar with this. It's us old fogies that have to really kind of stop and think about it. But let's see. Also, what happens is I call the main number here. They will put a notice on the door saying that the class has been canceled or moved to online, but you'll get that notice hopefully before you've come here, because I will have sent out an announcement to let you know that. Okay, so here's our grading criteria. We've got those weekly assignments, those chapter assignments, those chapter assessments. We have a midterm exam as well. That's worth 125 points. That midterm exam covers the first 3 chapters. It will be done here in class, so it is proctored. It is closed book. You are allowed to have 1 page of notes when you are taking that exam. So that comes sometime like the 2nd week of October, something like that. We have a final exam as well, which is comprehensive. The final exam is actually going to be take home, and you will be allowed to use your notes and materials on that. Okay. We have then comprehensive assessment exam. I know all these words: assessment, exam, quiz, yada yada. That is a district-wide exam for all students who are they all take the same exam if they're taking this class. That has to be proctored, so that will be done in class as well. That's at the end of the semester. It will cover all the material as well. And we'll talk in detail about those things. I give review sessions for these exams beforehand. Attendance as well is, you got points for attendance. This miscellaneous other, just thrown in to make it 1,000 points. So, I like to have it, I couldn't have it be 985 points. That's just too weird. Traditional grading scale, I do pluses and minuses for grades, so just kind of the usual cutoffs. Although I have noticed with my kids, I've got one son who's a 9th grader, just started high school, and another who's starting 7th grade, and the grading scales are weird these days, like down into the 80s for A's. So I don't do that. 90 and above is an A, 80 to 90 is a B, that sort of thing. So the traditional grading scale. Missed exams. So if you have some sort of emergency, you have to let me know as soon as possible. And when I'm talking about exams, I'm talking about these in-class exams, like the midterm and the comprehensive assessment exam. So you gotta let me know as soon as possible. If you don't tell me and you just don't show up, you're not going to take the exam. Okay? You gotta have some sort of emergency associated with that. You know now when those exams are. So, just to let you know. So as it says here, vacation is not an emergency. Oh, this is not an online class. Why is that? Okay, so you can see I got some editing to do here on a couple of these things, but it's all roughly the same information anyway. Already talked about late assignments, extra credit. There are extra credit opportunities in the class. With every chapter, there are extra credit assignments that you can do. Okay, so go ahead and do those. All this stuff, this is the DMAC stuff that they put in. This is, I don't quite know how this schedule thing works yet, because this is not everything that's added, but it just auto-populates from the assignments that I put in. So there you go. Questions about the syllabus? Or about the class in general yet? Anything? Yeah.
I did miss when you said the midterm.
Mm-hmm.
I heard the final was open note, take home, but is the 1 through 3, chapters 1 through 3?
That chapters 1 through 3, because it is so foundational, that exam is given here, and it is proctored, and it's only 1 page of notes.
Perfect.
All right, great question, by the way. Okay, I don't know that I've updated this. You probably can't see that right now. So let me go. I'm going to go into what you can see here. Stop. Okay, so what I've put up here is the schedule at a glance, where you can see everything rather than using that syllabus schedule, which was kind of weird. But you do have a calendar feature on here as well. This is what I put together to schedule out the class. So thought it's helpful to share that with you so that you've got it kind of all in one place. So you can see what we're going to talk about on any given day. So like today, there's our discussion and activity. You don't have any assignment due today, of course. Our introductions, and then we'll kind of do an overview of chapter 1 as well. Next Tuesday, that's when we get into chapter 1. So I'll want you to read chapter 1. Before next Tuesday for our class. And then whenever there's an assignment due, and you can see it's highlighted here, I tell you, the date it's due, the day and the time, and then a list of all the things that are due. Now this looks overwhelming, it's not. These are due next Thursday, the 31st, but I want you to be registered in Cengage. Make sure you've looked at the textbook, reviewed the syllabus, but we already kind of reviewed the syllabus together. Course time commitment, which I've got in the module here. Again, discussion board. I'll get back to you on discussion board. Classroom conduct guidelines, all of these things are in the intro module, by the way. And then the Cengage introductory activities, which I'll show you, we'll pop in there so you can see what Cengage looks like and what types of activities are required. That's 25 points. The introductory activities are mostly kind of it's a math review. We're gonna be doing a lot of math in the class, a lot of conversion from decimal points to fractions and vice versa, a lot of multiplication, division, all that stuff. So it gives you kind of that business math review, as well as going over some introductory accounting terminology and that sort of thing. So that's mainly what that is. And then there's an extra credit quiz as well that's in there that you can take. Okay. So yeah, and we have plenty of time in each of these chapters for in-class lecture time. So it's kind of one of the nice things about this class. We seem to have a lot of time available to go over homework and to go over specific problems. Some other classes, like the income tax class, which you will all take eventually, that one is jam-packed. So we kind of find ourselves rushing. This class, not quite as much. So your first chapter assignments will be due in 2 weeks. So September 7th, this is from Module 1, which we'll take a look at. Some Cengage assignments, that assessment, and then the extra credit assignments if you so choose. And I'm gonna look and see here, the discussion board. So anyway, so that's all there. Every single day is listed there, okay? Now, I have, where is it? Yeah, so every single class period is listed there. All of if you've got something major due, it's listed on there as well. And it should answer most of your questions regarding scheduling, okay? Questions about that? And that's right at the top of that first module. You've also got access here then to the ebook. Once you've signed up for Cengage. Now this class, there are some classes where the materials are included in the tuition. This is not one of those, I'm sorry. You do have to pay extra for the access to the materials. Now you'll see, if you looked at the bookstore to see the book for this class, first off, how many of you have already signed up and have already, okay, so several of you have already done that. You're good to go. For those of you who haven't done that, you can go to the bookstore and they'll get you your access code. You have two choices. You can get 4-month access or you can get 12-month access. It is Cengage Unlimited, which means you got access to all of your classes that use Cengage. In accounting, I think this is the only class that uses Cengage. So, but in other disciplines, I don't know if you, like your English classes or your math classes, I don't know if they're using Cengage or not. So if you have another class where you're using Cengage, you only have to sign up for that once, right? You get access to all of it. The two choices are a 4-month pass and a 12-month pass. So the 4-month pass is obviously less expensive. I think it's like $157, something like that. But it only gives you access for this semester. If you think you're going to take classes, and I know you don't really have a crystal ball, so you can see into the future what you're gonna, what your books are going to be. Well, I suppose you could, if you know what your schedule is gonna be, you could go on and see what they've used in the past. Chances are they're gonna use the same thing. If you've got other classes that you think are gonna use Cengage in the next semester, then you might want to sign up for the 12-month, which is, I can't remember the price of that one. It's like $240, something like that. Anyway, so those are the two choices. When you go on the bookstore website, under both of them it says required. They are not both required. It is one or the other. One or the other is required. Now, as far as a hard copy of the book, that is not included, but you can order it through Cengage if you want a hard copy of the book. Okay, they don't even send me a hard copy anymore. I used to get hard copies, but they won't even do that anymore. So, But that ebook is, you do have access to the ebook and everything once you get signed up for Cengage. Okay? So these are just some quick links. And let's just make sure they work. Okay. Enable pop-ups. Oh, excellent. All right. Well, I'm sure it's going to work better on your computer. There we go. Okay, so you would, maybe you'll already be signed in, maybe not. Oh, and see, it says, because I'm in student view, it says I've not registered. So let me go leave student view. I can show you what it looks like. Dismiss. There we go. Okay, so here's our book. There are 7 chapters. We're not doing the 7th chapter. But this is, so this everything, if you're okay with reading on, I mean, you can get this, I think, on, you know, on iPods and, not iPads, and, you know, tablets and stuff as well, so that you can read it there. I don't know if it works on Kindle, or that you'd have to look into. But everything here, if you want it to read to you, which there, I don't know if we can hear it here. It's a very, very soothing voice to read to you. But I know that there are a lot of people, it helps them to understand better if they can hear it at the same time. And I think you can change the speed. Text size, you can change all of that. If you want to bookmark something, you can print as well from here. So, so the table of contents is over here. Okay, so that's the ebook. Let's go back. There we go. If you need technical support from Cengage, so any issues with Cengage, you'd want to contact them. I don't do that. The student dashboard, so that's where you would have all of your classes. I don't know what this companion site is exactly, but you can play around with it and take a look. So to just jump to our class as well, all the assignments and everything, you could just click on this this link. And then you can see, now this, again, this is not the student view. This is this is my view. So you'll see on my view, I can see all of the assignments. The second half of the semester, those last 3 chapters, you don't get access to those until the beginning of October. Okay, so we're just gonna be working on those first 3 chapters first. So while we're here, is any questions? Yeah.
So I bought the physical copy and it gave me an access code, and now it's asking me, do I do the self-study or do I say my instructor gave me a course key?
That's a good question.
Because I don't know if I could just exit out of that and it'd give me both the book and the
Where did you buy the book?
textbook outlet.
At Textbook Outlet, okay. I would imagine it's the course key. Let me see if I can find if there's a course key here. Yes, so there's a course key. How about, I will put this in the announcement.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
You got it. Hopefully that works. If it doesn't, we'll figure it out. Okay. So, just seeing if there's, okay, so let's take a look at like these introductory problems. I'm gonna go into it as you see it. So this is the student view. So the introductory, again, these introduction to accounting, so you've got several different questions. They ask you to watch the video that they provide for these, so just watch that. It's basic stuff. If you've taken any accounting before, you probably already know the answers to these questions anyway. Again, they've got a video for success strategies, a video for debits and credits. Again, that's basic accounting stuff, so if you've had it, great. If you haven't, and it's not a prerequisite for this class, if you haven't, you'll want to make sure you watch that video. Okay, math, and then there's some math problems for you to practice with. Okay, so these are all the types of math that we're going to use in the class. All right, and then there's some information as well on how to take an assignment. It says or a test. I don't do the tests in here, just those assessments, and then information about navigating as well. So this should give you a good introduction to how to use the program, and they've got those videos there for you. And again, if you have questions as you're going through it, shoot me an email, shoot me a message, and we'll work through it together. Okay? Questions? Any other questions right now? Let's see. I missed somebody. Is Zachary come in? No? Angel? Yes, Angel. I'll make sure I get your attendance. Okay. Any questions about this part? It's pretty simple. I mean, you just click on it, register, click on it.
I'll just see after class.
Okay, okay. Are you having issues with it still?
Yeah, not with that. I just don't think it got me to the right place.
Okay.
So I'm not seeing any of that.
Okay. All right, so all of the PowerPoint slides, so I do use the PowerPoint slides frequently in the lectures, so if you want to download them beforehand, have them handy, print them out, whatever you want to do with them, they're all there. The 2023 PowerPoint slides. Let's see, oops, that's not what. See, I don't know how to go back on this thing. Maybe somebody can teach me how to do that. Link to whiteboard images. So, and I will be adding to this as well. I've got a Dropbox that has a bunch of, like as we're doing our calculations, I've got a bunch of images that I've snapshotted over previous semesters that have been helpful to students. So it's just a link to all of those whiteboard images. So that's what that is. And this is not updated yet. I haven't got the final schedule for the Academic Achievement Center yet, so that's not completely updated yet. So you can't see that at this point. Once I get that updated, I will. Okay. Okay, so there is... Yes, you got 2 discussion boards. Only 2. Just about you. So just an introduction one and a final thoughts. Now there is, in the introduction, I ask you, so a little bit about yourself, but I've also put you guys into study groups so that you've got access to some other students as well as we work through the semester. And what I want you to do, and I'll show you where those study groups are, is reach out to your study group members and get to know a little bit about them. And then in the discussion board posting, you'll post what you learned about them. So there are, it looks like we've got 4 students in each. Luis doesn't have a study group yet, so I'm going to put you in study group 6. So we've got those study groups. You should have, and I don't know what it looks like from your end. Like when you go into people and your groups, you should only be able to see your group. You can let me know if that's not the case. Again, I haven't used this as a student, so. All right, and so this is for your first, so for next Thursday, and all of your assignments are gonna be due on Thursdays, except the very last, the final exam will be due on a Tuesday. But all of the rest of your assignments are gonna be due on Thursdays by 11:59 p.m. I don't know why that's not highlighted. That could be part of the problem here. This Engage Introductory Problems was not, it wasn't published on my side here. So that's everything that I want you to do and look through by next Thursday. Plus, read chapter 1 in the book. Okay. Any questions? No questions? Everything's perfectly clear? So you have, like I said, you've got access to chapters 1, 2, and 3. You should have this too. Some of these are not clicked, and I don't know why. But you certainly, I mean, I know there's some students that like to work ahead. You can only work ahead so far. Don't get behind, or don't get ahead of yourself, I guess is what I'm saying. So, no questions on the course. Are you able to get into it now, by chance?
I just can't get the assignments. I can get the books and everything. I just can't get to.
Okay. So, did you click on the introductory assignments? Is that what you?
I went through the miscellaneous information. I just clicked like the Cengage Unlimited dashboard and then the ebook through there, and I was able to sign it.
Okay. I'll take a look at what you've got going there. All right. No questions about the class, the setup, it's all perfectly clear. I have a hard time believing that, but so are you guys? Let's find out a little bit about you guys, shall we? I'm not going to pick on anybody, but just want to know, what you are. How many of you are new to accounting just this semester? First time, never taken an accounting class. Okay, so we got several of you that this is your introduction. So why, of those of you that are brand new to accounting, why accounting? If anybody wants to volunteer. Yeah.
I can do my own taxes, that'd be nice.
Okay.
Pay someone else to do it.
Okay. Gotcha. Any other reasons? I mean, there must be a reason. No, people don't get into accounting for fun. Well, maybe they do. I don't know. They're weirdos, though. Why accounting? Future prospects for employment? Your parents told you to do it? You got a family member who's in accounting? You've been very good at participating.
I've been taking a few accounting classes before, and so to go into like an accounting degree, I would have to take this. So that's why. But I also think payroll's pretty interesting because I have been working for the past year and a half. So a lot of that stuff is pretty interesting.
Yep. Somebody's got to write that paycheck, right? People work in order to get paid, and the payroll function is like the front line of that, for that interaction between the employee and their paycheck. So payroll department is pretty important to all employees, and accuracy is super important in the payroll function. How many of you let me rephrase this. What would you do if you were underpaid by $10. Let's say you make $10 an hour. I know that's kind of on the low end these days, but let's say you make $10 an hour and they missed an hour of your time. What are you gonna do? You're just gonna accept it? No? What are you gonna do? Oh, you'll quit. Okay, between that mistake happening and quitting, is there anything in between there?
Go to your supervisor.
Yeah, you might go to your supervisor, or and eventually it's going to end up talking to the payroll department, right? People notice when there's a mistake in their paychecks. Now, when there's a mistake in their favor, they probably tend to be a little quiet about it. Eventually that might catch up with them. But accuracy is of utmost importance. In addition to that interaction that the payroll department has with employees and maintaining confidentiality and accuracy, emphasis on those things, the payroll department also has to be up to date on government regulations, both state and federal regulations. There are a lot of protections within the payroll function. There are a lot of requirements, a lot of deadlines, and so the payroll department, in addition to having to be accurate for the benefit of employees, they've got to be accurate as well for the benefit of the company, because that can cause some really serious problems down the line if there are any issues with that, with accuracy or with timeliness. So there's a lot of detail-oriented work within payroll. Okay, there are also a lot of opportunities within payroll. Go to any given employer, and chances are mid to large size employer, chances are they're going to be hiring for payroll. This is what I hear from our recruiters. This is what I hear from friends of mine who are still in the industry, that payroll function is in demand. So any other reasons that you might have gone into accounting? No? Instead of something exciting like fashion design or engineering or English literature? Are you guys all numbers oriented? No, you're shaking your head no. No? Okay. I know I'm numbers oriented. That's one of the reasons that it attracted me. And you're all really extroverted people too, right? You're like super extroverted. No? Accountants tend to be kind of introverted. All right, so you guys aren't going to volunteer too much information to me. I'll get it out of you at some point during the semester. Anything else? Anybody do anything interesting this summer? Go anyplace interesting? What's that? No? Yeah.
I just got done working the fair, so.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Days of 16-hour days straight, so.
That's very. At least it wasn't this hot when the fair was going on.
Yeah, no, the last 2 days, but besides that, it wasn't.
Yeah.
As bad. So.
Oh, good. Well, what were you working in?
One of my friends' families owns the Campbell's corn dog stand, so I'm like one of the lead corn dog cooks.
Oh, cool.
Stand, so.
All right.
Yeah.
Excellent. You see a lot of interesting people at the fair. Did others go to the fair this year? I haven't been to the fair in ages. Yeah? How was it this year? Was it? It was really hot.
Really uncomfortable.
Yeah. It's great people watching though, isn't it? Yeah. Excellent. All right. Well, let's see. How are we on time here? So we can get started a little bit. Let's just do kind of an overview, a quick overview of what we're going to look at in chapter 1 to give you a preview here. And I guess I don't have those under there. We'll go to the PowerPoint slides. All right. So I will tell you that this starts out we start out a little dry. I assume you're here for the math. We don't start out with math. I'm sorry. We've got to start out with talking about getting that overview of the payroll function, what exactly is involved with payroll. We talk about the human resources function as well, and how that human resources function and the payroll function interact together and what their relationship is. We talk about a lot of laws. A lot of laws. Like I said, there are many, many regulations that are associated with the payroll function for obvious reasons. We want to protect employees, right? We want to make sure that employees aren't getting scammed, that they are being paid what they were, the minimum amounts by law that they're required to be paid, and we want to make sure that they aren't being taken advantage of. So we're going to talk about all sorts of those laws. We're going to look at some, they're called anti-discrimination laws. Those laws that and they're more along the lines of, they're more associated with the human resources function, but we do need to discuss those. We've got record keeping requirements within a lot of those different regulations. And then, like I said, we're going to talk about human resources. We're going to get into looking at some of the personnel records that are used in payroll. In particular, there are two main forms that you're going to become very familiar with. The payroll register and the employee earnings record. These two documents, they're usually kept on a spreadsheet. They can be done manually on an Excel spreadsheet, or they can be used with software. Oftentimes they're used with, they're generated through software, QuickBooks, or whatever other type of payroll software is being used. But these two records will give the payroll department all the information they need, essentially, to prepare all of those records, to prepare the paychecks, to prepare the end of year reports, the W-2 forms. Any of you have had jobs before, you've probably received a W-2 form at the end of the year, which summarizes all the income that you received and all of the taxes that you paid during the year. Well, the payroll department is responsible for generating those, and that information comes from these payroll registers and employee earnings records. So we're going to go through those line by line, and part of your homework is to work on some putting together those a register and an earnings record, and we'll talk in more detail about what the difference is between those. Pretty easy to get those two confused, but I'll give you some tips on how to keep them straight. Let's see, there we go, that's a little bit better. All right, so as we talked about, we've got lots and lots of different regulations that are part of the payroll function. Salaries. These are, and this was for 2022, so Robert Half and Associates is a company that puts together salary surveys for pretty much every industry and every position. The average salary for a payroll manager that they found was $78,500. Now there's going to be a lot of variation within that. There's some payroll managers, the more responsibility you have, obviously the more money that you can make in your position. So payroll managers for very large organizations are going to make probably more than that. And that, again, that was 2022. So we've had a little bit of inflation since then. Maybe you've noticed, maybe you haven't. I would suspect that that's probably higher, maybe more toward the 90,000 range than it was in 2022. Payroll clerks as well, average, and that would, I would say, that's probably more of a starting salary for a payroll clerk. Again, the more responsibility you have, the higher your potential salary. There is a professional organization called the American Payroll Association, the APA, that you can be a member of. I'm a member of it. I get all sorts of emails from them. There are different conferences that payroll professionals can go to. There are, I'll either today, maybe I'll go on the website and show you everything that the American Payroll Association does. They are a professional organization, so they don't make regulations, but they do set guidelines for how individuals within the payroll profession should operate. And they also help to keep payroll professionals up with changes. Now, there have been, luckily you're not taking this class in 2021. We're pretty much through all of the COVID changes, but we had so many temporary changes that happened during 2020, 2021. They've pretty much all been phased out by now, but there were a lot of changes that the payroll profession had to implement, and they, like I said, they were temporary changes. So we're kind of back to normal on that. But the American Payroll Association kept professionals up to date on what those changes were and how to implement all of those. They also set a code of ethics. So every profession has a code of ethics, ethical guidelines, minimum ethical guidelines that those within the profession should abide by. And that code of ethics is authored by the American Payroll Association. You can see it in your textbook, but I'm going to show you as well. Let's see here. Let's go. Well, there it is. But I'm going to go to the website for you. All right. So they also offer certification. There are a couple of different certifications that individuals can get through the American Payroll Association. We offer a class here in the spring and in the summer. It's only an online class. It's a 2-credit class, payroll certification review, that focuses on the materials that are covered in that exam. So in the introductory type of certification. So that's the fundamental payroll certification. That is for entry-level payroll professionals. And it's a certification that helps to set individuals apart. Now, do you have to have it in order to work in payroll? No, you do not. But if you are going and applying for jobs and 2 equally qualified individuals are presented and one of them has certification, the other one doesn't, that individual with certification is going to most likely get that position, right? So it does give you a competitive advantage. The fundamental payroll certification is, like I said, it's for individuals who are either just entering the payroll profession or maybe in their first couple of years the payroll profession. A lot of employers will pay for that certification, to pay for you to take the exam and get that certification if they think it's going to be of benefit to them. Obviously, the more advanced certification is called the Certified Payroll Professional. That's for an individual who has worked in payroll for several years and they're looking at a management type of responsibility. Okay. The class that we offer, that payroll certification review, helps prepare students for this level of certification, that first one. Now, the American Payroll Association also offers review courses. They're much more expensive. I'm sure they're excellent, but I'll show you. I'll click on this and show you what the prices of some of those are. But just to kind of give you a heads up, and a lot of students, especially if they're in the specialist program, it is one of the electives in the specialist program, that class. So they'll sign up for that, and I've had many students that they'll take the exam, and they pass it the first time. So we've had a lot of success with that particular class. So if that's something that you're interested in, again, I'd be happy to chat with you more about it. But I'll show you. So again, entry-level payroll professionals, people who are, so when they say sales professionals, we're talking about individuals who maybe sell payroll software, that sort of thing. They go to businesses and sell payroll software. Systems analysts, so individuals who are working on programming payroll software, and payroll service provider client representatives, so those kind of frontline people. But again, the entry-level payroll professionals. There's a handbook here that you can download to learn more about it. The exam is offered twice a year. So, for example, this fall, it's between September 9th and October 7th. So I would have probably have students who took it in the summer who would be registering for the fall exam. And then the spring exam ends April 20th. But you can take it, and you don't have to, I think it's on, there is a site where you can go and take it, but they do it remotely now as well. You'll go to one of those, those testing center places and take it. Let's see, so here are some of so like to register for the exam, if you're a member of the organization, $335, non-members is $415, that's just for the exam. If you're looking at studying for the class, they're charging about $2,000 if you're a member, about $2,100 if you're a member. To take there, and this one looks like it is in a classroom in Las Vegas. So you'd actually, or they have a virtual one, they're the same price. Obviously the DMAC classes aren't nearly that expensive, but they do offer those classes. There are also all types of publications that the American Payroll Association puts together. Like I mentioned, different conferences that can be attended by payroll professionals, conferences where they're networking, they're learning from making those connections with other payroll professionals and updating their skills as well. And you can go on here. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that, like federal news, let's see. So you can get, for free, you can get updates on a lot of different payroll. Let's see. Oh, this is a pretty big one. IRS to provide e-filing option for forms 940, 941 in 2024. That's actually a very big deal. These are, when we file our tax returns, who's filed a tax return? Okay. Their own individual tax return. Yeah, okay. So you e-file them, right? You push, or if you pay somebody else, maybe you didn't prepare it, but you paid somebody else to prepare it, or somebody helped you, a family member. Essentially, they prepare it, push a button, and it goes off, and is e-filed. Well, some of the forms that are used in payroll still are not e-filed. They have to be filed on paper, which is very antiquated and cumbersome. So it looks like, starting next year, some of those forms are going to add for e-filing, which is wonderful. A big advantage. So my point here is just that there's news, updates on payroll. And as I get information, I will probably send you out in an announcement, say, hey, this came through. Things of interest, don't worry, I'm not going to send you the boring stuff. But if there's something that we covered in class that relates to the topic, then I'll send you that information out. I'm not going to go through the certified payroll professional, but just know that there is that additional level of certification that's offered through the APA. So when I talk about the APA, that's what I'm talking about. I think I've got a link. Where are we here? All right. Oh, there we go. I still don't quite know how to get out of the one place and into another. Let me just quick go through this. We'll talk a little bit about this code of ethics, and then I'll let you go for the day because that's probably enough. So this is the code of ethics that the American Payroll Association authored. And, a lot, you read through this, and a lot of it just, it makes sense, but it's good. These are all good reminders for individuals in the payroll profession. So be mindful of the personal aspect of the payroll relationship between the employer and the employee. Ensure that harmony is maintained through constant concern for the payroll professional's fellow employees. So be nice. The payroll department will sometimes get employees who threaten to quit because they didn't get $10. So just keeping it, keeping cooler heads and being civil with fellow employees. Strive for perfect compliance, accuracy, and timeliness of all payroll activities. This is where that attention to detail comes in. Now, notice it doesn't say be perfect, be accurate, be timely with everything, but to strive for perfection. Now that Lexus commercial, the relentless pursuit of perfection. Obviously, perfection is never really truly attainable, but we can always strive for it. It's particularly important in the payroll profession because of that need for accuracy and the strict deadlines that are enforced. And keeping abreast of the state of the payroll art with regard to developments in payroll technologies. Call payroll an art here. This is essentially just, keep up to date on new, more efficient ways of performing your duties. That e-filing with the 940, or e-filing those tax forms. That would be an example of being prepared to do that then, because that is a development in payroll technologies. Legislative developments and actions on the part of regulatory bodies insofar as they affect payroll. Now, we oftentimes think of, federal regulations, but there are lots of state and even sometimes some local regulations that affect payroll as well. So all of those things you got to keep in mind, and you got to keep abreast of. Okay. Let's see. Maintain absolute confidentiality of payroll within the procedures of the employer. Why would we want to be? Why is confidentiality so important with payroll?
You don't have the need to know how much people pay.
Right, you are in the payroll function. You are privy to some very sensitive information. You've got information about salaries. You got information about addresses. You got information about health insurance. You got information about dependents, children, phone numbers. Very sensitive information, retirement accounts, that sort of thing. So it is of utmost importance. That's why we've got this code of ethics as well. We want to make sure that following the code of ethics and that the payroll function is being staffed by individuals who are of high ethical character, because it is very sensitive information, right? And the payroll function is, I don't want to say a hotbed, but it's a great place to commit fraud. A lot of fraud that will occur within the payroll function. Fictitious employees are created, and ghost employees, all sorts of different tricks that individuals will use in order to embezzle, abscond with employer assets. So it is very important to keep all of that information confidential and to follow the ethical guidelines. Refrain from using association activities for one's personal self-interest or financial gain. This is one that protects the American Payroll Association particularly. They don't want people going to conferences and just, maybe they have a payroll business and just handing out their business cards trying to get business, using it as a way of, now networking is perfectly legitimate. You're trying to gain those relationships, but trying to gain business per se is not what they're about. Take as one's commitment the enhancement of one's professional abilities through the resources of the American Payroll Association. So be a member. They want people, that's just to encourage individuals to become members of the American Payroll Association. Support fellow payroll professionals both within and outside of organizations. So that again is just to be professional with others and to provide assistance. So that's just kind of an overview, that code of ethics. That will come back, by the way. There are questions. There are test questions on the code of ethics. So maybe I should have said that before I started talking about it, right? We will, that's probably enough for now. We can start next week talking about these different laws, like I said. And these are federal laws that we're mainly going to talk about. We do talk about Iowa when we start talking about calculation of income tax withholding, but these are federal laws. Just be aware that there are Iowa specific laws as well that are out there, but these are the ones we're going to really focus on. And I'll let you get to reading. Let me know if you have any questions, okay? And have a great weekend. It's supposed to cool down for a little bit. then heat up again.